Today on Community Cooking, we have guest chef Cassandra Bodzak in the kitchen making another mindful meal. We're making lentil veggie soup served with a side of guilt-free vegan cornbread. We are cooking with some of the best chefs from right here in our own community. So grab a seat, get comfortable. We've got another great meal for you. This is your Community Cooking. Hello and welcome to Community Cooking. I am your host, Kirk Leins. In our kitchen today is Cassandra Bodzak. Hey Cassandra, how are you?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Now, your job title is a little bit hard to sort of describe, so I'm going to let you do that. Tell the audience what you do. I can start with author, I know that.
Yeah, I like author. Author is a good place to start because
That's a good title.
My book is kind of also explains what I teach.
Okay.
Because, so Eat With Intention teaches you how to love your body, how to tune into your body, and figure out what foods feel the best for you. And then how to fall in love with cooking and unleash your kitchen magic. And it has all different plant-based recipes that all have a mantra and a meditation. So I try to meld the two worlds.
Wow.
Right?
So it's a little bit yoga, a little bit spiritual, a little bit holistic sort of cooking and eating.
Yeah. So I'm a certified holistic health coach, and I'm also a self-taught plant-based chef.
Okay.
And I mold the two worlds because I really do believe what we put into our body affects how we feel, both mentally, physically, spiritually.
Well, I love the title of the book, Eating with Intention, because I think that that's really where we've gotten away from, especially in our society here in the United States. There's sort of a lot of mindless eating, whether that be in front of a computer, in a car, at a desk, with a TV on, what have you, and I mean, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah, I call it autopilot eating. And it's even more insidious than that. I feel like a lot of us, when I have clients, often do this thing called the food mood journal, where I tell them not to change anything, just write down what you're eating for 2 weeks and how you feel before and after. And one of the things they often notice is that they go to the same places for lunch and they order the same sandwich. And then after that like stressful meeting with their boss on Thursdays, they always end up getting that same cupcake from the same cafe. And we have a lot of these like autopilot tendencies with food where we're not just consciously choosing what we're eating, and we're not also, like you said, consciously enjoying it. I read some statistic about the amount of Americans that eat meals in their car, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's a lot of positive changes come about from just thinking about what you eat.
Yeah,
that's it. That's
just
it.
sitting down.
Speaking of which, let's talk about our menu today.
Yes.
Now, we've got a delicious lentil veggie soup that we're going to be making on the other side of the break, but we're going to start with a vegan cornbread.
Yes.
All right. Now, I love cornbread. Can't say I've ever had it vegan.
Well, we're going to do it today.
Well, why don't you run us through the ingredients here?
Yeah, so we have just your regular cornmeal, some all-purpose flour. I'm using coconut sugar. You can use regular sugar. We're keeping it a little healthier.
Okay.
I'm also going to add a little bit of vanilla extract. So that's going to make it sweeter, even though the coconut sugar is a little bit more mild. We have some sweet corn, baking powder. I'm using almond milk. You could use any sort of dairy-free milk. And then this is some vegan butter.
Okay, so a couple of questions here and observations. Cornmeal, you're using sort of a fine cornmeal. You're not using something that's like closer to like a polenta or a grit. You're using a very fine cornmeal.
Both a fine cornmeal and a fine, almost like a cake flour for this.
Oh, is it a cake flour or is it an AP flour?
I did cake flour.
Cake flour, okay. And then, so because you're putting in sugar and vanilla, this is a cornbread that's on the sweeter side.
Yes.
As opposed to the more savory, rustic cornbreads. Okay.
Yeah.
I would imagine we could go fresh corn with this as well, since it's going to spend time in the oven.
Yeah.
And then vegan butter. I mean, is that basically like a vegetable oil based sort of?
Yeah. So this one I use, it's soy free.
Okay.
So, but it's mostly vegetable oil based. So I like to get one that's made with a lot of olive oil in it too.
And then no matter if we're doing like coconut milk, cashew milk, almond milk, rice milk, all good.
All good, all good. I happen just to like how almond milk works in the recipe. Coconut milk has a little bit more of a taste than any of the other ones.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, let's get to it. Where do we start?
All right, let's just start putting all the ingredients in our bowl here. So we're just gonna start, we'll add the cornmeal.
I don't want you hanging off the edge there.
No,
so it's literally almost like a dump recipe. We are just putting everything in.
This is so easy.
Okay.
And that's the fun of it. I love when recipes can come together in minutes. And how we're doing it today is actually how exactly I would do it at home. I would get this all sorted while I'm, and then put it in the oven and then make the soup.
Great.
So that it kind of gets itself. So now we're just gonna add both of our almond milk and our butter, and we're just gonna mix it really well. If you have, you could totally do this in a mixer at home.
But why dirty another thingamajig if if you don't have to?
That's how I am. Least dishes as
right.
possible.
Absolutely. And if I can clean as I go, even better.
Even better, yes.
Right.
That I'm still working on. But
yeah.
I'm just definitely as least dishes as possible.
Yeah, I like working that way too, just because I think after the meal is over, the least amount of dishes.
Right.
Oh man, right? You want to sit down for a second.
That should be somebody else's job, right?
Yes.
I feel like that should be a well-respected rule.
Right.
That
right.
if someone cooks, then somebody else has to clean.
Kids are
right?
good for that.
Yeah. This is also very meditative.
Yeah, right. And builds forearm and bicep strength.
Yeah, right? I should get you in here. Yeah, so you're just going to mix it together, but you really want to make sure all the clumps of butter disappear.
The coconut sugar kind of makes it a little bit of a darker color, right?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
So because normally you'll see like cornbread's much more yellow because of the
cornmeal.
Cornmeal, correct.
But yeah, it's a little bit darker.
And are you mixing it till it's completely smooth, or what's?
I mostly just want to make sure that the butter is smooth.
Okay.
So as smooth as possible. It's not going to be perfect.
Because I know some recipes actually like to leave a little bit of lumps, like pancake batter. Some cornbread recipes.
You can totally, with cornbread, it's like you said, it's one of those you could totally get away with it.
Right.
Especially because we're going to fold in the corn last. So the corn adds lumps, and the butter will just melt when it's in the oven anyway.
And what if someone was trying to stay away from, let's say, sugar? I know it'd be really hard to do like sort of keto or one of those sort of diets because of the flour and whatnot. But let's say you wanted to stay away from sugar. Could you leave that out, or could you reduce that? How important of it is it to this recipe?
Totally. You could totally leave it out. Or, like I said, I use the coconut sugar if you wanted to go even lower glycemic. I mean, the other sugar I would use is date sugar, which is less sweet, but it's the most nutritious, quote-unquote, sugar. It's really just pulverized dates in a food processor.
Or how about if you reduced it and then made it more on the savory edge, like threw in some jalapenos?
Yeah, you could do that.
Things like that?
Totally.
Okay.
You could totally do that. Also, they have, now they have some stevia. Oh, we gotta put some vanilla extract.
I just saw that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So this helps. Vanilla is my secret because I try to keep things pretty low sugar.
Right.
And you can you can compensate with some vanilla. Oops.
Vanilla is one of those things that I never measure it.
Yeah, no. I have the heaviest vanilla hand.
Because
the more vanilla, the better.
This recipe has too much vanilla. Said no one ever. Right?
Ever.
No, it's
my mother taught me that when I was
so
little.
delicious.
My mother, when I was growing up, she used to have this thing. She would show me whenever she was using like a box cake mix. She'd be like, vanilla. If you dump vanilla, nobody will.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's a great hack. So yeah, so this is probably good enough, and then
you're gonna fold in your corn. All right.
There we go. Perfect. And yeah, and also if you're someone that doesn't like the kernels in your cornbread, you don't have to fold it in at all. I do, though.
Oh, I love it.
I like the texture.
Yeah, me too. And it's surprising, this recipe has no egg.
No eggs.
No egg. I mean, it is completely vegan.
Yep. Yep.
And so, yeah, but you still get a little bit of rise because of the leavening, so.
Yeah, so, yeah, it'll be a little bit moister, like slightly denser than it might be if you eat eggs. You could totally just, at this recipe, add an egg. But you don't have to.
But I'm okay with that. I'm not a huge fan of a cornbread that eats more like a cupcake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in form, but I mean in texture. I like that denser sort of.
Yeah.
Because you're eating cornbread with things like soup or chili.
Yeah.
And that's what that's about. That's
totally.
What, I don't necessarily need something that's like light and fluffy.
Should I put you to work right now?
Yeah, sure. All right. So, and now this has been greased, correct? Okay.
Yeah, so I just used a little bit of the excess vegan butter and just greased the pan.
Okay, now I'm going to have to use my We going about maybe, that's maybe a little too full, go a little bit less than that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that
I feel
okay?
like for these, it's, you know, I love corn muffins.
Right? And the
like
stuff that comes over the top is delicious because it just gets like crispy and
yeah,
yummy.
it's like a nice little poof top. And I actually love doing them this size because it's really fun, especially when you have a soup. You can just kind of put it on the side of it, and it's nice little bite-sized.
And also, what's nice about this is that whatever is left over gets put into a sealable bag, and you just keep
just
it
stick
back,
it,
like, on the
stick
counter.
it in the freezer, and you could have
Or
it.
that, or you could freeze it.
Stick it in the freezer, and then that's a great, because if you stick it in the freezer, actually, a little hack you could do, if you like having corn muffins, like for breakfast, you could, you know, par bake it, so don't bake it all the way.
Okay.
Take it out maybe about 5 minutes before they would be completely done. Put them in the freezer, and then just throw them in the oven for like 5 minutes.
All right.
Before, and then you have, because isn't it the best when they're warm?
Yeah, because
and
the one
gooey?
thing I will say about cornbread in general, generally speaking, is that it doesn't always get better as it sits.
No.
Some do better. Some stay fresher. Some will get a little bit too dry. It just sort of depends on the recipe.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. And then, you know, there's nothing wrong with warm cornbread either, right?
No, I love me some warm cornbread.
All right. So we about good here?
Yeah, good
so
job.
we still have like a considerable amount left over.
Yes,
I mean, it's
we
going to
do.
make at least double.
Yes.
Into how hot is our oven?
400 degrees.
400 for how long?
Yeah, so these are probably going to be 15 to 20 minutes. They're small because of the mini muffins, so we'll just keep an eye on them.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we get cleaned up here? We'll get all our ingredients for the soup, take a little break, come back, and make some lentil veggie soup.
Sounds good.
Don't go away.
I try to keep up with what these young people is doing and knowing.
I was at work and I just got a text from a number that I didn't know.
I sent him a text. He texts me back and say, "Who dis?" And I just thought that was the funniest thing.
The next few weeks, you just made fun of me, like would answer the door and say, "Who dis?"
Who dis?
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org.
America, let's do lunch.
Welcome back to Community Cooking. Joining me today is Cassandra Bodzak, and look, we've got muffins.
We've got muffins. They smell delicious.
Right? Oh, they really, really do. They look great, too.
Yeah.
They look great. They just came out of the oven, so they are piping hot, hence the gloves. All right, we're just going to put these off to the side, and we're going to get going on our next recipe. So, lentil veggie soup.
To accompany our muffin.
Yeah, we were talking in the break, and I gotta say, I adore lentils. I mean, for the life of me, I cannot figure out why they're not a bigger thing in restaurants. I mean, they're so inexpensive, and you can feed an army.
Me too. And I think they're so versatile. You can put them in everything. Plus, they're so good for you. So much fiber and protein. I love a good lentil veggie soup. I also even love putting them in salads too.
Yeah, now, I mean, it's very versatile. It's very versatile. I make a cold salad with it as well, which is really good side dish. It holds forever.
Yes.
You keep it in the fridge, it just tastes better the next day.
It's actually it's a great, I'm thinking of this, I'm on a flight tomorrow. It's a great thing to pack when you're flying.
Sure.
Because it stays so well, and you're like so full and satiated
And it's
while you're
everything you
traveling.
need to sustain yourself through a flight.
Everything you need.
Okay, so why don't we talk about the ingredients that you've brought today?
Yeah, so this is my take on a lentil veggie soup. And so we have some baby kale here, some peas, carrots, garlic, extra virgin olive oil, some onion that we're gonna chop, and this is just some veggie broth and salt, of course.
And of course, our lentils.
Our lentils, yeah. So I went ahead and already cooked these lentils, but we have these which just show you what they look like dry. So what you would just do is before you cook your soup or you're getting ready to set up your soup, would just put them into a nice pot on the stove with some water and let them, you want to bring it to a boil and then let them simmer for, keep your eye on it between 30 and 45 minutes, but these babies were done even earlier than that.
Lentils can be a little bit weird that way, where some, like I've had cooked lentils where they're done in a half hour, there's others I've cooked where it's been closer to an hour.
Yeah, you have to kind of taste it. You just taste them and kind of see the texture-wise.
And another tip for cooking lentils, and I can see you did this, if you let them boil too hard, you're gonna incinerate them. You're
Yep.
gonna like rip the skins off of them, and they look kind of nasty at that point.
Yeah.
They're just not the nicest presentation.
Yeah, yeah.
But you see, these lentils here, they're salad worthy because they're intact and the skins are still on. So you cook them nice and low.
Yeah, so you just let it boil for a minute, and then as soon as that boil hits, then you turn it down to the simmer.
And when you stir them, use a deft hand. Don't sit there and go in from a nice, and you're not trying to tear them
Be
apart.
delicate with them.
Keep their
Be
integrity.
delicate.
Okay, so where do we start?
All right, so I'm gonna put you to work to start off. We're gonna get you chopping some garlic and onions,
Okay, I can do that.
and those are gonna be our base.
And we looking for like a small dice.
Yeah, a nice small dice.
Okay.
I don't mind a chunky lentil soup, but you know.
Okay. All right.
And then I'm gonna start chopping some carrots. And then I'm just gonna put our olive oil in the pan over here. Get that warming up. And so one of the things I really like to do is I like to cook all the ingredients for just a little bit, saute it in the olive oil before we add the broth to it. So it gets a little bit of that flavor in it.
Right, you don't want the broth cooking raw vegetables. You want to open them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Do we need to get that pan back on the heat at this point?
Yeah, we can put it on the heat.
We just were trying to save it from like incinerating.
Yeah. I love a nice good warm pan, but sometimes when you start it and then you get distracted by chopping.
And you can't cook in a cold pan apparently, right?
No, right? Can do that.
All right.
All right. I love chopping vegetables. Chopping vegetables,
Yeah.
I think, was my first before I ever learned how to meditate. I feel like chopping vegetables was my first meditation. And to be quite honest, I mean, I meditate. I'm a big meditation person. But on those days where I can't quiet my head, nothing can quiet my head like chopping vegetables.
Yeah, I enjoy it too. I have no problem with chopping vegetables. I much rather chop vegetables than, let's say, peel a potato. You know what I mean? I don't mind chopping vegetables at all. And you know, it is. I can see it because it's repetition. It's meditative for sure. For sure.
So soothing.
Yeah.
There we go.
And you know, the thing is, one of the things about a recipe like this, which is kind of nice, you can do this sort of prep work. Let's say you come home from work and you've got an hour before you got to run the kids to a practice or whatever. Do this prep work, and then, you know, go do what you have to do, come back, and then throw your soup on.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I don't want to necessarily, you know, advocate for, you know, walking away from a pot on the stove or, you know, and leaving the house, you know, but when it comes to, like, this is the type of stuff that you do ahead of time. And you didn't peel your carrot. You just...
I like...
And I got to say, these are beautiful carrots. Do these come from the farmer's market?
Yeah.
Okay, you can tell. You can tell. And, you know, listen, we are blessed in this city of having just an amazing farmer's market. So, you know, I mean, look at the stuff that can come from there. We get the kale from there. We get our carrots. We could get our onions. If we went with fresh peas, we could get the peas.
Yeah, you could get fresh peas as well.
Sure.
And I'm just going to throw these onions in olive oil.
Okay. How many cloves of garlic would you like chopped?
I'm a big garlic person, so let's do about 4.
Okay. You are a big garlic person. That's
I love me some garlic.
All right.
I feel the same way about garlic as I feel about vanilla.
Yeah.
Like, there's never enough garlic.
As long as, for me, I'm somewhat like that as long as it's cooked.
Yeah, totally.
Raw garlic is a whole other ball. I know people who like the whole garlic fries thing. I can't do it.
What's the garlic fries thing? Oh,
like garlic fries, you know, where you make, like, you take garlic, mass amounts of garlic, parsley, oil, and salt, and you top them fries with that.
And it's like so intense, yeah.
Woo.
I was making a vegan Alfredo sauce, and I used raw garlic instead of actually sauteing the garlic first.
Okay.
And I nearly killed myself and my boyfriend.
Yeah. That's, for me.
It had such a bite to it. It's so healthy for you, though. Raw garlic is so healthy for you if you need to, like, knock out a cold or something.
Or keep anybody away from you.
Yeah, when you just really don't want to be touched.
Right. Right. Okay, I'm gonna, is that small enough or do you need it more fine?
That's perfect.
Okay. I'm gonna put it in this bowl so that I can just pass you the bowl.
Perfect.
That way, there you are.
Nice. Get this going. Garlic and onions, I feel like, is responsible for all recipes smelling amazing.
It
right?
is.
And food just the simplest thing.
Throw celery in that too. I love the smell of celery cooking.
Really?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that is great. That's like, for me, it's like, that's a part of the Thanksgiving nose, is that celery. You know, you're making like
celery in your stuffing.
Stuffing, right.
Yeah.
Or you're making stocks or gravies. I've always got those sort of root vegetables and I love it.
Yeah, this smells delicious. Yeah, I'm just gonna cook this a little bit and then we'll add in our carrots.
Okay. So once again, now, and your veggie broth, that you bought, right?
Yes. So I bought just a low sodium organic veggie broth from the store.
Which have come a long way, correct?
Oh my gosh. I mean, that is something that you can totally have fun making at home, if that's your thing. I always just like to think about like the home cook at home that like has 7,000 other things to do and is maybe cooking this for kids on a weeknight. Isn't going to perhaps want to prepare stock.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that and I think both those worlds can exist at the same time.
Yes.
You don't have to do one or the other. You know, I have box stocks in my cupboard.
Yeah, totally.
But at the same time, too, you know, listen, if I'm going to make chicken or I'm going to make turkey or if I'm going to, here's, for vegetables, if you really want to, any of these like ends, like what we just chopped here, you throw those into a freezer bag, you know, and just keep collecting them. And there's very few vegetables you don't want to throw in. Like, you'd want to stay away from beets because it's going to make it red.
Yeah.
Or you might want to stay away from any of the gassier vegetables like cabbages or broccoli. But when you're talking about root vegetables, aromatics.
Oh, yeah.
Once that bag gets full, put it in a pot, cover it with water, bring it to a boil, let it simmer for 3-4 hours, and you have veggie stock.
Yeah, that's the perfect thing to do like on a Sunday when you're cleaning the house and you just have that going, the whole house smells amazing.
Or you're just being, you know, mindful about what you're spending.
Totally.
Or what you're eating. You
low
know?
waste.
Very low waste. Very low waste.
You know, I'm the same way as you with stuff like that. Like, I love making.
Yeah, it's all about intention, right?
Yeah, I love that. Like, you know, sometimes I can make my own nut milk at home, or I'll even make my own like cashew yogurt at home. I love to make my own salad dressings, but then I always also sometimes have like a great salad dressing that I picked up, you know, from Whole Foods, or a great something for like grab and go things as well.
Right. Yeah, they can both exist at the same time. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. You know?
Totally. All right, so we're adding our peas. Now we can.
That's kind of nice because that's like a starchy element. Like I put potatoes in mine, but that sort of satiates the need for a little bit of starch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it looks nice too.
I like the colors of it. Yeah, and that's why I also add in some baby kale to just have more green in it.
And once again, that is also adaptable. You could go with spinach for that. You could use almost any green.
Yeah, collard greens. If you like collard greens, you could.
Regular old, like the curlier kale, the sturdier kale.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm like so into baby kale right now. I feel like it's just very light.
That's ready to go. I mean, that, you know, a lot of people I think have issue with the texture of kale if they're eating it raw.
Yeah, so you have to massage it, and you really have to know what you're doing. You know what though?
Yes and no. I mean, for me, the thing is if you make that kale salad first, by the time your meal's ready, it's good because like whatever acid you've got on there, whether it be lemon juice or vinegar or the salt that you put on, it's broken it down.
Yeah.
You're good. You know, as long as you've taken out the big, like, woodier stems.
Yeah.
This here, you could dress it at the table and it's going to be fine because it's very tender.
Oh, yeah. This you don't have to do anything for. It's so delicate. It's a little bit sweeter, too, I find.
But, you know, another thing, too, what this recipe is good for is when you have greens like this and they're starting to get to the point where you don't want to put them in a salad.
Yes.
Or you know what I mean? But you don't want to, they're not ready to be thrown away.
Totally.
Put them in a soup. They're going to wilt anyway.
I love doing that. Throwing them in a soup, or even I'll throw it if I'm making like pasta with a nice sauce, just throw it in there in the mix. Yeah, my wife and I have really gotten to a point where that's what we're doing on a daily basis, is really talking about like as little food waste as we can. You know, and it's dual purposes. I mean, one, it's saving you on your monthly budget, but at the same time too, it's being mindful. It's not coming from this place of like, well, you know what, I can just throw away food. Exactly. That's not a good place to live in. Well, it's true. It's like there's like when we think, when you think of eating meat, there's that whole like nose to tail school, right? Yes, like how much can we use every part of the meat? And I think oftentimes it's true. We can think the same way with vegetables. Like how can we make sure we use like, even using like these don't have a big end of it, But, you know, sometimes you get carrots. I buy the carrots and they have the big things.
And these here you can throw as a garnish or on a
Oh,
salad.
yeah.
They're delicious,
They're so
right?
delicious.
And you look at any culture, like the indigenous people all were nose to tail with everything.
Yeah.
Whether it be a fish, an animal, or vegetables, for sure.
Vegetables. I love that. Yeah, I think that's where things are going, and it's really nice. All right,
Okay.
finally.
So that goes in, and
now we just let it simmer.
all right. Well, I guess this is a perfect time to take a break. We'll bring that up to a simmer, let it do its thing, and then we'll come back. We're going to eat some lentil veggie soup and some cornbread.
Sounds good.
All right. Don't go away.
Planning the right amount of food is hard. The Guestimator makes it easy. Just tell it who's coming and what's for dinner. Then it tells you how much to make. And yes, it even plans for leftovers. Try it at SaveTheFood.com.
Welcome back to Community Cooking. Joining me today is Cassandra Bodzak, and soup's on.
Soup's on.
We've got soup. I mean, it smells divine, absolutely delicious. So I think all that's really left is to give this a taste.
Right, let's
and
give it a
as well
taste.
as our muffins. But I'm going to start with the soup first.
All right.
I want to get right in there.
Judgment Day.
And
Right
you know,
here.
it's pretty. It's a pretty looking lentil soup because of all the green that you've put in there.
Thank you.
You're
I
very
do think,
welcome.
I always say we eat with our eyes first. So I always think it's important to make sure your food is aesthetically pleasing. Especially for me, since I mostly cook healthy food. It's like, whenever I'm giving people my good, healthy food, I want to make sure it looks beautiful and
Yeah.
it entices them as well.
Well, I got to tell you, very clean tasting. That's the first thing that I would say is that because of the fact that you cooked the lentils separately, I think that nothing got muddied.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get every, like the carrot, the onion, the kale, it's all got its own flavor. It did not muddy up. And I think also that's why it's so pretty looking too.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is fit for a weeknight or a weekend,
Yeah.
especially when the weather gets colder. Okay, I'm
All
excited
right.
about these guys.
Yeah.
They feel nice and moist.
Right.
Your dairy-less cornbread. Great. Yeah, for sure.
Right? You don't even miss the eggs.
And you know what? Not overly sweet. Like a nice sweet. Like a nice sweetness. And I gotta tell you, this is what I'm gonna do.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's the money move right there. Just dumping it right in there. Just gonna dunk it in there.
And you
And
get
that's
that nice little textural pop.
I love having the corn kernels in it. And again, since we use the coconut sugar and the vanilla, that's why it's that really subtle. Like it's a little bit on the sweet side, but it still is, you know, a more muted. So
Right.
it's not like you're having a dessert with your soup.
And if you were to do this with like a chili, go jalapeno, a little cilantro, give it that profile, wow. Thank you so much.
Of course.
This
Thanks
is delicious.
for having me.
This is lovely. I encourage you all to make it. Cassandra Bodzak, will you join us again?
Please, of course. I'd love to.
Great, great. Well, this just goes to show you we really are cooking with some of the best chefs from right here in our own community. On behalf of myself, everyone here at Community Cooking, have a great day. We'll see you next time.
If you'd like a copy of the recipes seen on this show, send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to the Office of Cable and Community Relations. That's 3350 Civic Center Drive, Suite 200, in Torrance, California, 90503. Be sure to note the show number displayed on the screen. And don't forget you can find all the fresh ingredients used on today's show at the Farmers Market. Visit the one here in Torrance at Wilson Park. That's located at 2200 Crenshaw Boulevard. They're open every Tuesday and Saturday from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m., rain or shine. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show, email us at communitycooking@torranceca.gov and check us out online at youtube.com/TorranceCityCABLE and like us on Facebook at Community Cooking TV.